But just a little bit about Chef Smith. I'll let him sort of fill you guys in with the more personal details. But Chef used to be the personal chef for Oprah Winfrey. Many award-winning cookbook authors. The coolest thing I thought, James Beard Humanitarian of the Year in 2007. It's a huge honor. Anything from James Beard lately is pretty coveted, but that honor in particular just shows a lot about Chef Smith's character, as well as a deep-rooted family history here in Florida. So, Chef, I'll let you kind of talk a little bit about yourself to our followers, but we really appreciate you being on the show.
Well, it's truly a pleasure, and thank you, Doug. We're right here in St. Pete, Florida, one of my favorite places in Florida. It's amazing what's going on here. Like there's some cool going on. And, I've always loved St. Pete. I always thought it was a great place, but I'm also proud of the fact that St. Pete has one of the largest pride parades in the whole state of Florida.
Yeah.
Wherever you got gay folks, you got fun. You know what I mean?
That's very true.
And this restaurant tonight is opened by a couple who I'm very proud of. And, but anyway, the restaurant business is an interesting business. My background was not in the restaurant business. I've been a chef, personal chef for a lot of interesting people. And, from governors of Florida to Michelle Obama to Oprah, you name them. And, what I found about all of them is that people always ask me, what are they like? What are they like? Well, I think most people are all the same. They just want good food. And,
right.
And I think it's important that, we as chefs, everyone always wants to get to that person. And I have to tell you, as chefs, you have the tool to get to people and get what you want. You just cook for them.
Right. It's an intimate experience.
Right. I'm telling you, food is a wonderful magic that enables you to get into a lot of doors.
Yeah. I've definitely found that early on in my years. And, obviously with you being here, that story, you came in, to the hotel that I'm working at and, just served you some good lunch and, asked you, hey, would you mind, giving us a little bit of your time? And you were really gracious to do that. And like you said, that smoked wedge salad kind of brought us here. Which
it was delicious. It was very, very good. I loved it. I love the smokiness of it. I love the dressing and the crunchy and it was delicious. It was really the bacon and everything. It was great. And that chocolate tart was beyond delicious, really good.
Yeah, that is a former recipe from one of our executive chefs that actually had a write-up in it on the Tampa Bay Times. So it's definitely a solid and true recipe we keep at the hotel right now.
It's really delicious. I like it. I would even like it if I know they use like a cookie crumb crust on the bottom. I think that you could probably gussy that up a little bit.
Yeah.
The ganache is really good. It's like a milk chocolate ganache.
Yeah.
And I've had it done like that with bittersweet, and then they put a little bit of orange in it, and that's really good.
Yeah.
But it's delicious. It's good. But I come from a place where, majority of the chocolate I put in my mouth was milk chocolate. So I do love milk chocolate. But anyway, it's really delicious. And I like I said, we had a great meal there last night again. And the octopus was really delicious and
awesome.
Really, really super. But it's good to know that St. Pete has great food, and I heard about this Nash's chicken. I want to try that out.
Yeah, Nash's Chicken is actually Chef Ted Dorsey. He also, with his business partner, runs the mill. They have one in Tampa and one in downtown. Right. And he actually opened up the Castile restaurant back in 2014.
Really?
So he has his stamped Chef Ted Dorsey. Yeah, he's a interesting fellow to talk to as well.
I also want to try faux cheesy. Is that good?
Faux cheesies. You got to get their purple drink if you go. It's on the beach. I haven't been there, but my old banquet chef went and he said the grilled cheeses are pretty funky. So you'll have to check it out.
Well, I think it's kind of like, as I call it, I remember when I went to LA and I went to all these late night places and I always refer to it as stoner food.
Exactly.
Yeah. but it
th-
seemed really, really cool. But
exactly.
I do think that's what's interesting. People always say, "What's the next? What's next? What's the best?" I will tell you the most simpler way that you can get food out in terms of the cost of producing it, in terms of the amount of labor. This most simplistic way that you can do it is going to be what's best to do, because it's opening um, restaurants that have a lot of moving parts at these times is just too expensive.
Right.
And not to say that there's not a need for that, but you come from millennia. I mean,
Right.
there can't be that many millennias in this world.
Right.
Right.
You know,
No, there can't be.
right? And and I was I love Millennia, and it's a that very special restaurant with special occasion, and Grant has been a trailblazer in fine dining. He does a great job. I also used to love Grace and those other restaurants too, which really really terrific.
Right.
Um, but I come from northern Florida. I'm a little country, but I'm a little rock and roll too. I love food that has a country soul, but I also love things that are a little bit chic too. And my biggest um, thing about when it comes to Southern American food is that people tend to slop it around. And I have a
Right.
very dear friend, Scott Peacock. You may have heard of him, and he uh, he has defined the art of biscuits. I mean, he makes his own baking powder, and he's very
Oh wow.
specific about the flour,
Yeah.
and he uses lard. And, I mean, when it's done as an art form, it is absolutely delicious and so beautiful,
Right.
and nothing more wonderful than gorgeously shucked southern oysters with just a tang of salt, and you can eat them raw, or you can roast an oyster roast, and I just love, and I love beautiful, you know red rice, and I love um, everyone always thinks of gumbo and all that, and jambalaya and all that is southern. It isn't. It's Creole and Cajun. It's a totally different cuisine, but
Right.
one of the things that enabled us to be successful at Disney is that I was able to show Disney my South. Well, my South has chicken and dumplings and fried chicken, okay? And
Right.
we don't have palm trees and flamingos. We have oak trees with Spanish moss, but um, but it's been, I've been able. I mean, when I first started this whole um, I call it my whole fried chicken journey. I used to get laughed at saying, "Why are you making that food? It's housewifey and blah blah blah." Well, let's trust me. I had the second top restaurant in all of Walt Disney World, and we sold 52 or 40, 50, 42 or tons of fried chicken last year.
Yeah.
You know,
And speaking of your Disney journey, I learned that like myself, you also did an internship at Disney. And so, that idea of homecoming was probably not only Disney, but also Florida in a sense as well.
right? It was an email to Bob Iger. But you know what's really unique about me at Disney?
What is that?
I'm the only cast member in Walt Disney history to ever open a business
Really?
in history.
Huh. That seems like that should have definitely happened before. That's really
I
crazy.
don't I don't know why, but I mean,
Right.
because so many of the people who work for Disney are so devout Disney people, but I don't
Right.
know, maybe it wasn't. They never, maybe they just. I mean, there are people that worked in food at Disney who opened their own restaurants and stuff like that, but just maybe it just wasn't the case. But
But on Disney, yeah.
yeah, but there you have it.
I know
It's
my last
amazing.
4 years with Disney has sort of Disneyed me out a little bit, but maybe one day I'll make the return
You
back.
will. You'll come back. I mean, these have been hard times, and to be honest with
Yeah,
you, when you see the difficulty, how the pandemic and COVID has affected a company such as the Disney company, it can tells you a lot how difficult things are. I mean,
oh yeah,
when a company like that is affected like that, then you really understand how hard and rough it is.
exactly.
Um, so, but I mean, because it's affected everything. It's affected. I mean, I met all these people from California today who are leaving California because they just can't live, because of
Right.
things. And so,
Because things are
anyway,
just so bad. Yeah.
yeah. But I think if my suggestion to today's chef and people in the restaurant business, um, just think simplicity. And I read a great story today, and it was in ink, and it was Mark um, Cuban was saying, first look at what you do really well, and then look at what you don't do well, and focus on making what you do well great, and what you don't do well, focus on making it better. And and I think that um, good business just comes from the fact of knowing what you're doing, and also understanding too that that um, I think like in a lot of restaurants they have a tendency to do large menus that is too much, requires too much prep,
We call
too
those
much.
Cheesecake Factory menus.
Yeah. It
Yes.
requires too much food in house. And I think one thing
Right.
about what's happened with COVID and everything, it has definitely cut down menus, and
Yeah.
and I think people are being much more efficient with that, and also efficient with labor and stuff like that.
Definitely. Well, that was, Taco Bell's whole business motto. I think they have like an 86% menu matrix.
Uh huh.
They have, 86% of their ingredients are going into every single
Right.
dish. And
Right.
it's that sort of idea, like you said, keeping it simple, not at the quality of Taco Bell, but
Right.
that sort of idea. So Chef, we have a couple more questions for you, but
Please.
one of the things that I thought was so interesting is your cookbooks, this back to the family, back to the table. Now, you have this family that I was lucky enough to cook for over the last couple of days. Would you change anything in those books or,
Well,
add
I would first
something
tell
or?
them and say, "You're batshit crazy if you want children." It's hard. It's tough. It's a
Yeah,
really. I want to tell you something. I've done everything. I've opened restaurants. I've cooked for movie stars and presidents and stuff. But I have to tell you, um, raising children is the toughest job I've ever done in my entire life.
yeah.
And you know what? They don't care that you're a celebrity chef or a top chef. They just want food. Like my kids called me tonight and said, "Poppy, we want breadsticks. When can you have them here now?"
Yeah.
Right.
And but they're cute. But
Right, right.
but I've been, like I said, I've been very fortunate, and those books were fun, and they enable us to really teach and show people, like, most importantly, at the time I didn't have kids and stuff, but I my the lessons that I learned in success came from the fact that I had cooked for so many families. I learned a lot of that just for cooking for families.
Right,
Um, but taking care of other people's children is a lot different than taking care of your own.
right.
So, but I've learned a lot, and I've loved it, and it continues, but it continues to be, I someone said, you're really living life. I tell you, it's cold here in St. Pete tonight, but
Yeah.
but anyway, but it's been fun. I've enjoyed it.
That's awesome. And then, the other thing with, being such a family-oriented person as yourself, I find it, hard sometimes by just being, the chef of a hotel and running this podcast to find that time commitment and be able to, have myself in three places at once. What would you, the biggest piece of advice for trying to
Well,
manage that?
in these times where when things are so noisy, I have to tell you this: you want people to know that you're there. So the best thing that you can do is make people aware that you are out there and that you're alive and you're doing well. Um, you know, the time that it takes to complain that you don't have time, you could have already done it. Remember that.
Right,
When the pandemic started, I did a lot of virtual cooking shows, and I'll start back doing more. But I did them just to keep the people, make them aware that, hey, I'm okay. I'm here. I'm there. I'm doing stuff.
right,
So
That's
just make
amazing.
and just remember, guys, you really want to make sure that people are aware that you are still in business. You're doing things because the world is pretty noisy, okay? And
right,
I think that people are spending a lot of time home, and they're still looking for their favorite chef. Like something I started doing Cameo, and a new thing that was started by Matthew Lowe, Rob Lowe's son, called Comey, and it's like the personalized information, messages and all kinds of stuff, and
Huh.
because people really want to connect to their favorite personality, whether they're cooking or whether they're actors and actresses. And I mean,
Right.
the way it is now, because of the lack of, because of social distancing and stuff, people don't have the intimacy which they once had, and so it's really, there's such a need for that. So try to focus on bring in that intimacy, and showing people that you're there, and I think you'll be very successful. Well, I'm freezing out here and I better run, but I want to say it's been a pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Thank
coming
you
on
so
and
much,
sharing
Chef.
such wonderful inspiration and words of wisdom.
Yes,
Okay, and just
definitely.
stay strong.
Really means a
And
lot to us.
you're very welcome. And
Of-
again, stay strong, stay aware, and let people know you're out there, and give them your best. And what you don't do well, try to do better. Okay. All right.
Will do, Chef.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much,
guys.
Chef. Much
Have a good
Pleasures.
love.
night. Thank you. Pleasure. Bye bye.